What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 1 of season 3 of Quality Violence Cinema. My name is Ian.
I'm Christian, and we're kind of doing a thing about it, kind of like a recap of the first season. I think it was technically episode 2. It's our extreme web of horror. It's kind of because we've grown, things have changed. We've been doing this for a little over a year, so I was just kind of curious of whether our movie chases have changed.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot since then, but also, I mean, back then our show wasn't even on video. It was just fucking audio show, audio only. So we'll have visuals now. We're gonna edit some stuff in, so it's gonna look a lot cooler. But I would recommend going back and listening to our old one just to kind of see how we've grown. And if you haven't checked us out on Spotify, if you think that we're only on here, you got to check us out on Spotify too, because there's shit on there that's not on the YouTube. So yeah, definitely check out our Spotify.
Yeah, and we're definitely gonna eventually kind of bring season 1, but we're probably not gonna do every episode. We're probably just gonna come and do the key ones, like the big interviews, and some of them we actually have. Like we actually got a video with Fred Vogel, so we thought it would be kind of cool to bring that in and kind of do so it's like new, footage that no one has seen except for us. But
Yeah. Yeah, so we're going to get back into the Extreme Web of Horror, which was, I think, episode 3 for us, because we did...
well, 0, then 1, then 2, so
Yeah,
it's episode 2.
it's technically episode 2. But yeah, we're going to skip the Web of Horror because, you know enough about that mainstream stuff. We're going to go into the Extreme Web of Horror again. So we'll have that picture. Everyone can take a look at it, but it's online and shit. I think it'll go viral one day. Who made that? Didn't Silas help us with it, with the art?
He did a lot of the artwork. To be honest, I almost want to redo some things, but it's one of those things like when you visit a project like a year later, like I might change a couple things, but it's going to be pretty much that. But I might even update the artwork. Yeah, just to get into what the extreme level horror was, it was kind of a breakdown of different subcategories, and we had it into basically like documentaries, experimental, fetish, gore, exploitation, torture, and then disturbing drama by itself. Um, and within those, the documentary had like cinema verite, mixtapes and compilations, Mondo. Experimental had animation, shorts, and art house. Fetish was vomit, BDSM, and porn gore. Gore, we had Grindhouse, Splatter, and body horror. Under exploitation, we had sexploitation, Nazi-ploitation, drug-ploitation, and based on a true story. Under torture, it was Pinku, women in captivity, snuff, rape revenge, and then disturbing drama. So that was basically it. So yeah, so we're gonna kind of go on back and forth. I'll list mine, and then he'll list kind of like what he thinks is one. And I don't necessarily say like this is like my absolute favorite because I don't like saying favorites. I just think that this is a good example.
It's like a good jumping off point.
Yeah, it's a good example of that subcategory and one that I do enjoy. But like I said, I don't like favorites. I don't use a lot of favorites. When we get into documentaries, I feel like documentaries is kind of tough because documentary in even of itself is just kind of a subcategory because there are a lot of documentaries that are just, an extreme horror. So to go into mine is Beyond Horror. I think it's a really good one. And it's about to finally get released. I mean, I have the one that Marcus Cook kind of sent to me, which is really nice of him to do because this is very like an exclusive thing. But so I have that, but yeah, it's not out yet.
Yeah, I really want to get a copy of that. That was really awesome too. Anyone that made it to the screening, that was a really fun night. I think that documentary is going to make huge waves when it gets out because people just love sampling extreme content without having to actually buy it or go too far into it. So I think it'll give everyone a really, really good taste of like the extreme and underground scene without having to like go fully into it. And I think it'll get a lot of people into it too. So
I think even if they edit it down, because there is, they have to do kind of like a censored version because they do show a lot of the actual scenes. There's nudity, there's a lot of stuff. So they could, and it's a 3 hour long thing. So if they cut it down a little bit, it's not really necessarily a bad thing, So it's, I think it'd be good. I think I can't wait to kind of see what they do with it.
Yeah. My pick is going to be Dead Hands Dig Deep, 2016, directed by Spencer Heath. Hell yeah! Thanks for holding it up for me because I don't own a copy.
It's hard to come by, so
It is. It was only released in Australia. Am I
yeah.
correct? Yeah.
Hmm.
So, and I don't know why, because I feel like it's another thing that, I mean, it's just a really interesting documentary, and it really pulls at your heartstrings towards the end. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it kind of messed both of us up the day we saw it. Before we did our
Music
musicians,
one.
yeah, our musicians one. That's a really cool episode. If anyone wants to go back to our audio shit and check out the musicians and horror, that's a we ended up talking about some of the most fucked up shit we talk about on any of our episodes
Hmm.
on our musicians episode. But yeah, but we talked a lot about Kettle Cadaver and the singer of Kettle Cadaver, who was very, very, very into the self mutilation scene, or at least on himself. And he does some really messed up shit, like staples his or nails his dick to boards and like performs on stage with his board hanging off of his cock, and like just, and that's bad, but it gets a lot worse. He does so much shit that kind of just makes me go, oh fuck, like especially when he rips his ball sack up, like with turns it into like a screwdriver brain
Main
thing.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, ugh. So yeah, but yeah, it's just basically catching up with him after his music career's kind of fizzled out. He's living kind of on the outskirts of town, and he's pretty messed up from drugs and alcohol, and he's kind of recalling everything the best he can, but a lot of it is talking to a lot of people from his hometown about kind of the effects that he's left on everything and their memories, and it's great, but it really towards the end it fucks you up, especially once you know that he's dead. He died, killed himself shortly after the movie was made. So yeah, check out Dead Hands Dig Deep.
So to go, this is Gift. It's kind of going into Sin and Verite because it kind of goes into this fictional thing where he's like even plays like this doctor that's describing and helping heroin addicts, and then there's just the scene of he basically makes believe of if his wife would to die of a heroin overdose and what he would do in that circumstance. But it also has like footage of their wedding and just other stuff, and then live footage of the band playing and stuff. It's a really crazy movie.
That's Jane's Addiction, right? Or was it Porno for
Yeah, it's Jane's
Pyros?
Addiction. It's Jane's Addiction. It was
Oh,
the early
okay.
stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I still got to check that out. I am a Jane's Addiction Porno for Pyros fan, like not extreme fan, but I like them enough that when you told me about that, I was like, damn, I didn't even know that existed. It just like
Hmm.
goes in that whole category that we were talking about of just media that was released in the 90s from bands that was just on the extreme side. Like Nine Inch Nails did it, and Primus put out some crazy, and Tool put out crazy shit, just
Hmm. Salvia.
like it was cool too. You'd go to the video store and there would be a whole music section and like of tapes and DVDs, and it was just there was so much crazy shit. Like I remember one really weird thing. Like if you can find this, or if anyone can find this, let me know. But it was Spice Girls sex tapes, and I have no idea what they were,
Mm.
but they were sold at the mall, and it was like Spice Girls uncut, and it was like some Girls Gone Wild type shit, but like with the
It was
Spice
probably
Girls on the
mostly
cover.
Ginger. It was probably Alice. I mean, I think she was the one that was on Playboy and was more scandalous and stuff. So
I don't know, man. I tried to look up those tapes just to see if those like it was just in my mind, but couldn't find anything about it. So maybe they got washed off the face of the earth.
maybe
My
kind
pick.
of like kind of like how the Pamela Anderson, I'm sure were the tapes were sold for a while. Just
Oh,
like physical copies. But then once they made the website, then it's just like it's free to
yeah,
everywhere.
pretty
But
much, pretty much, yeah. My pick for Cinema Verite would be Atroz from 2015, directed by Lex Ortega. I've talked about this in a few episodes, especially our snuff one. I think it was the only thing I watched for researching our snuff episode that I liked, because we watched a lot of bullshit for that episode. But yeah, it's cool. It's a Mexican snuff, like pseudo snuff film. It's got a few parts that are filmed like a regular linear narrative film, but most of it is filmed camcorder, like digital video footage, and it's a lot like August Underground when it comes to the brutality and stuff. But when it comes to the story and the background on the main character, that's where I think the movie is really rich. But I also feel like that's when some of the most fucked up shit that I've seen in any movie has ever happened. Especially when um, the childhood traumas of the past come back and the kid gets revenge against his parents. Um, that maybe that's a big spoiler, but that's the scene you got to look forward to because it's some of the nastiest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, that one's good.
Yeah, I love it.
So now we're getting into kind of mixtapes, which kind of go into documentaries because of how Mondo mixtapes and everything compilations kind of got summed together. But I feel like they almost became like they're almost like their own thing.
Yeah,
Um, and then you can kind of split them into different things like Gore compilation or different styles of mixtapes because there's like TV ones that are more based on just like weird shit online and just stuff and don't have any gore at all.
like
And
the
so
ones
it's
you're
just
making.
yeah, well, mine's have like there's no real gore, like blood or like when it comes to like actual death, but there's like messed up horror movies.
Yours goes more
But
for humor, I would
yeah,
say. Yeah.
yeah. And it's for anyone that doesn't know, I'm starting to do like this thing called TV Party. It's basically just kind of little random mixtapes of they're interesting. They're a lot of fun. I've been enjoying making
It's freaking acid trip though.
them.
don't watch his mixtapes if you got a head full of acid because you might like go on a killing spree or something, a killing spree or something worse spree.
But I got into some ones that I definitely really enjoy. I mean, like Boulevard is definitely one that's heavily sought after and is really good. Sorry, backwards. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's all whitewashed anyways. But this one's great. I've only gotten my hands to be able to get on the fourth one, but they're crazy. They're definitely another one that he won't do any kind of animal stuff or real gore or anything like that. It's more, but there's definitely some fucked up fetish stuff in there. So still not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. But somebody that's I recently got into this one is awesome, made by Micah, but the ultimate splatter. It's the ultimate underground amateurs slaughter fest of death. But good stuff. Definitely a fast pace. Lots of just good SOV, crazy, awesome stuff. You'll see a lot of like, you know, violent shit and just different things like that. It's really cool. Um, oh, sorry. But what about your mixtapes?
I think you just showed a little spoiler.
I
Um,
did.
Mine is going to be kind of like out of the ordinary. I actually have a physical copy. Um,
Nice.
but yeah, the fucking CKY collection. And I'd say mainly CKY 2K because that's really when they broke into the video market like big time and were selling their shit at the mall. Like Zoomies was selling it and stuff. Um, but the first one I think is really cool. I think it's like they have some really creative stuff. You can tell they were creative kids. They did a lot of fun skits with no money, and they shot it on 8 millimeter film, which even if it's crap, I love stuff that's shot on film. And yeah, there's lots of CKY music from CKY. These are pretty much promotional videos for the band.
Yeah,
Um,
this is his brother, Bam's brother.
yeah, directed by Bam, or Bam kind of put it together. But yeah, um, I love CKY. But if that band gets on your nerves, this might be something to watch with the mute button. But there's a lot of funny ass shit in here. Like around the time they go into CKY 3 territory is around the Viva La Bam era, Jackass era. So you get a lot of those characters in there. But I'd
And
say,
Johnny Knoxville comes in eventually.
yeah, I don't know how much Johnny Knoxville's on the CKY movies. I don't have CKY 4. I need to buy that, but this
Mhm.
also has this DVD also has the documentary, which is really fun to watch.
There's one like what were the original ones? There was like shit, and then something else that had just had the one was just Wee Man was in blue.
Oh, those were the Big Brother magazine.
Yeah,
movies. Yeah, yeah. There was like wasn't I think one of them was called Dick or something.
yeah. They're just one word. I think
Yeah,
each were like just one word.
yeah. Those are good too. I never owned those. My friends had those though. Yeah, those were a lot more skateboarding than CKY stuff,
Hmm.
but yeah, those are cool. So what's your Mondo pick?
So going to Mondo would be, I already kind of snuck it, but Mondo Siam, done by Renee Weisner, which he was one of the few kind of people keeping Mondo alive. And it's cool to actually have that. And he's still coming out with stuff all the time. So really, really cool stuff. Definitely, there's not a lot of like, it's not as narrative driven as like some of you get in like an old narrative of like old Mondo. But I think that's kind of better because I feel that a lot of times it didn't age well. A lot of the thing, especially if you go into like what was it, Caged Girls, or the one that's like all about lesbians. Like, oh my God, is it politically incorrect? Like, there's just there's just some
Well,
documentaries just
the
like,
narrative in the Mondo films is usually fabricated by the filmmakers, and I think that's a lot what Cannibal Holocaust is about.
yeah,
Is about the filmmakers like going into these uncharted territories and making their own storyline almost for good
yeah.
cinema.
And he does more of a way of just kind of letting it speak for itself, which I think is
Hmm.
better. And I like that approach.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's
it
good.
doesn't really need.
Good to not exploit your subjects. My pick is going to be Dog Dick 2013
Oh, I
from
should grip. I have it, but no.
from James Bell. Yeah, I know you have it. He's got it. Trust
Actually,
me. Just don't show us your dog's dick, please. I don't think you heard me say
I just
that.
got this one recently. The whole VHS of Dog Dick.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah, man. Dog Dick is crazy. It's a very uncomfortable movie because it's a Mondo film, but it's made in like the suburbs in like the Midwest. It's like in like what I don't know. I don't remember where it was actually made, but like like after seeing a few things that it shows you in the beginning that has to do with animals, you kind of at one point are like anything can happen at this point. Especially there's like a lot of mentally handicapped people and stuff, and they're just like I don't know. You just feel like kind of like the gloves are off. That this person's not pulling any punches.
mhm.
James Bell, like he never does for any of his stuff, but this is his only documentary style film that I know of that he's made.
Well,
Um,
apparently he was doing stuff before where he kind of had little things that he made, but none of it made onto film. But he would just kind of
yeah,
do his own.
I kind of remember that too, and I remember when he was posting clips and stuff on Facebook, like in the mid 2010s or whatever. But yeah, Dog Dick I never got around to seeing until you let me borrow it, and it's a really interesting piece of art, especially if you
Mhm.
love stuff like if you love Gummo, but you want to see something that's like a real life version of Gummo, but more in like a inner city slash suburban setting with like real mentally handicapped people, real animal death. It's not like it's nothing too over the top, but there's some animal death and just lots of just I don't know what's some other shit that happens. I won't go into it too much, but there was some controversy online when it came out that actually got the police called to his house and yeah, got him in a lot of trouble. Almost. He talked his way out of
Mhm.
it when he showed the police the movie in his living room and they were like, "This is what everyone's upset about," and they just left him alone. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
It's just a movie.
Bunch of crybabies. So we'll go into experimental next, starting with animation. What's your pick for that?
Well, I mean, I think Jimmy Screamer Claus is like an obvious one, but I kind of wanted to go into. I mean, some people have heard of this, but Dead Fury and I can't know the director's name because it's some like weird. It's like Fsudol. I don't know if it's supposed to be an acronym or something,
Hmm.
but
What movie is it? I didn't see. I have my notes up.
oh, sorry, Dead
Oh,
Fury,
Dead
and there's
Fury.
and then also City of Rot he
Oh
did. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, isn't it like a Russian guy? I could be wrong, but yeah, it's crazy to think those movies were sold in Best Buy at one time.
Hmm.
Because they're kind of rough around the edges, but they're cool. It reminds me
Yeah,
a little bit of like Flash animation, but like way better.
yeah.
It's like
Well, I think I liked it because it brought me back to like this Spike and Mike, type feel. I kind of just felt like it was a fleshed out Spike and Mike animation.
kind of like has a Necrostorm vibes to it too.
Hmm.
Just I don't know, they're cool. My animation I'm gonna pick is obvious Jimmy Screamer Claws, When Blackbirds Fly from 2016, which is his follow up to Where the Dead Go to Die, which was one of the most extreme fucked up movies ever put out. So if you're expecting something to top that, it doesn't quite top it, but it almost gets there when it comes to extreme content. The thing that it does top the first movie with is it's way higher in quality. It's a lot better looking. That he really sharpened his animation skills. I mean, you look at what he's doing now in 2022. It's a completely different ballpark due to so
Well, yeah,
talented.
most of them are shorts now, but
Yeah,
yeah, they're both are crazy. Like the Fuzzies is insane.
which I mean, I think I remember hearing an interview just talking about how his old animation Where the Dead Go to Die and when he was starting up and When the Blackbirds Fly, that his computers just overheated constantly rendering all of that animation. Like I can only imagine just like with the small amount of editing I do on these videos, how long it takes and how hot my computer gets. Like imagine putting all those characters and backgrounds and stuff together. And yeah, it must have been a lot of work, a lot of time. But When Blackbirds Fly is pretty much a dystopian community that's pretty much like a religious uh, sheltered religious community, almost like if you've seen M. Night Shyamalan's The Village or something. And there's this wall around that they're told not to go out, and when they do go, it's almost like Alice in Wonderland. You just go further and further deep into the rabbit hole, but the rabbit hole is like an acid trip hellscape that like it's gnarly. And you can kind of see why the town doesn't want people going in there. At the same time, it brings out a lot of your inner indulgences and stuff. So it's yeah, it's a great fucked up movie. I like Jimmy Screamer Claus's shorts because you get a lot like in a short amount of time.
Hmm.
This is just like a long story, long narrative story, but it's really good.
Yeah, the one where they actually like have where he actually takes acid and where you can see where it's still like a very trippy animation, but all of a sudden the character is like actually on acid. He replicated that so well to make it like feel like you were on acid. Like it was insane.
I'll have to check that one out. I don't think I've seen that one.
Mhm. I think the most recent one he did.
Okay, nice. So the next category we're gonna go into is going to be shorts. What shorts do you got going to?
Well, one I just saw recently, which I thought was really cool. Um, it's Hippocampus M21. Oh, sorry, there's a glare. But it's they're these string of different shorts, but they're each of them are done to like a different classical music piece. To kind of, and they're all very like fetish driven or just kind of, yeah, they're really insane. I was just very taken back by it, and I just like that concept, especially trying to like get out of this mold. They definitely kind of did that with trying to create it as separate pieces.
Yeah, I've never even heard of that. Sounds underground as shit. Um, my shorts are both animes actually, which is kind of left field for me because I'm not the biggest anime dude, but I really appreciate. Have you ever seen Kite, the anime? Oh, it's really cool. They actually made a live action American movie like in the last 5 years. It was terrible, but it's just about an orphan girl that gets adopted by a hitman that like is taking out all these like sleazy people. It's kind of like Ichi the Killer meets Leon the Professional, but it's a really gory, just fucked up anime. About 30 minutes long. Just this tiny girl just slashing people up. Another one
Mm.
though that I wanted to pick would be the Ichi the Killer prequel movie. The the I forgot what it's called specifically. I think it's just called like Ichi. But it's just about him as a kid I'm not talking about the live action one that Unearth put out. There's actually like an anime of Ichi the Killer that came out. It's really cool.
Just check that out.
Yeah, it's cool. If it's not in your collection, you should definitely throw that in your cart if you can find it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I
So
guess we go into art house.
yeah.
I went for Blood for Flesh, which is the one that I recently got into and saw. This thing is crazy. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, it's like I wish I could get into it. It's kind of like what you would wish more Indoor would be like. He in the best, like in most compliment, like I compliment, more than that. Um, it's such a crazy piece. I don't even want to like get too much into it because it's hard to even explain. It's just not just a whole experience you have to check out.
I'm not the biggest fan of art house horror. There's some movies that are really really good, but I couldn't think of any. One that I did see though over the last year that I did have a high appreciation for would be Difficulty Breathing, directed by
Hmm.
Guy. He that came out in 2017, but he's still doing screenings and online, and he did one for us, which was really really fun night. It's about a woman with agoraphobia, and she's showing her signs of agoraphobia in very unusual ways. Um, a lot of self harm and yeah, it'll put you in a very claustrophobic, kind of uneasy position. Guy is a very talented director. I want to see his other movie,
There's a
but
new one coming out too.
the thing that I think he did really good on that though was it was lit really well
Hmm.
for how constrained it was. It was very well lit. So when art house movies do stuff like that, I really have a high appreciation for them.
I thought it was kind of funny. There was a review that guy was talking about where they just described it as "girl eats flour," and I was like, and he's like, he's like,
Yeah,
okay.
she did do that. Yep.
Period. That's it.
Yeah, there are a few parts where you're kind of like, why am I even watching this? But it's a really breezy. It goes by in like I don't know 35 minutes or something. So
Mhm.
you're not just sitting there for a full hour and a half watching somebody go crazy in an apartment. And there's enough stuff changing up to keep you interested.
Especially watching this later, like after COVID, I'm sure it became kind of like a thing. It's like I can't watch this. I'm locked up in my apartment and can't leave.
So yeah, we're gonna get into like the fetish movies. I didn't really pick anything because I don't like any of this shit. Um,
And I'm
but
a fucking weirdo. Just kidding.
yeah, and yeah, you want to kind of like go into it though, because
Yeah, I'll just
yeah,
take into it.
mm,
So I mean, you broke them up, and like fetish is one of those things. Like, really, we could do an entire fetish web, and it would be probably the biggest web that we've created. Like, it's gigantic. But when it comes to like extreme cinema and like what's kind of used, I mean, vomit, obvious, pretty big. You got Lucifer Valentine, but Barf Bunny was definitely something that came out within that year that we were um, starting this whole thing. And we did a Barf Bunny screening and everything like that. I just love this piece. I just like the fact of taking a fetish piece and then being able to kind of turn into an art piece, and it doesn't necessarily just have to be a fetish piece. I think it branched out pretty well.
yeah, that
Um,
was a tough one for me to watch.
mhm.
I fast forwarded through a lot of the throwing up just because like it's not for me. I think Felicia even told me she was like glad that I did that. She's like, yeah, I just get to the part that you wanted to see. So, but yeah, it's it's just not for me. But
Yeah.
I'm glad there are people that enjoy that stuff because it's nasty and I love gross nasty shit, but that's just like
Mhm.
nasty and gross in a way that I'm not into.
Yeah, someone recently that's kind of getting into the scene is Filthina Pig. Just came out with a DVD. I forget the name. It's like pig stabs out stomach and pukes out guts. It's something in that regard. Um,
Hmm.
but very interesting stuff. I'll throw a cover when we do the whole thing. But that's somebody that's just very interesting. They were known for on Facebook for doing speaking of Barf Bunny, they did like a whole drawing of Barf Bunny, but they used period blood for like water paint.
Hmm.
So it's just kind of interesting. So they did that kind of like over Alicia's face type thing.
Sounds like somebody that would fit in perfectly in our town.
Yeah, this is interesting stuff. Then go into like BDSM, something that got kind of popular within like the extreme horror scene, Infernal Restraints. I mean, you can see like Black Lava sells it. So US Sub Rosa has a lot of stuff that they'll sell. This is one of the few that I could show the cover of because most of them are, I mean, it's BDSM, but it's like extreme BDSM. It's in the realm of like insects, and that documentary that came out basically touches on a lot of this stuff. I forgot it's over there, but
Yeah, what is it called? Like, I don't know.
hold on.
Graphic sexual horror.
Yeah, that one.
Graphic sexual
So,
horror. Yeah.
so it's basically a lot of that graphic sexual horror stuff, but it's just like kind of more recent because Insect still kind of does stuff. The website's technically, I don't know, in limbo, or whatever. The site's still up, but then there's like porn gore, which I kind of think of like so Stick and Gore production put out a lot of the stuff because a lot of it's not really distributed. But there's definitely a lot of films that use actual porn in it. I mean, porn gore has been used in the mainstream, but more as mislabeled because it's like kind of being like this, like treating gore as like it's so graphic that it's like you're jerking off to the gore, type thing, getting off to all the gore. But this is what I'm talking about. Porn gore is like I'm thinking like literal, actual penetration with gore. Um, but like so stuff like cover that a little bit.
Like Sam Hell, kind of.
Breeders, yeah, Sam Hell would be a great example. Raped and gutted. Um, they're not afraid to go there. I mean, a lot of it's pretty bad effects, in some of the movies, especially if you get into like the Ultimate Necro collection stuff. Like that stuff's just really bad. It's like, these those CGI blood effects and this small little bullet wound, and then the girl just plays dead, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, the CGI in some of those, it's like, man, it would have looked better if you just used Sharpies and ketchup or something.
Yeah, it looks,
Yeah,
it's about the same effect.
yeah.
But the breeder is interesting because the director's name is Death Trap, which I always thought was kind of interesting. I just go by Death Trap.
Hmm.
So good luck finding the director with the name Death Trap.
Yeah, interesting. Sounds very influenced by grindcore culture.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. So yeah, let's go on to the next category.
Yeah, speaking of grindcore, here's Grindhouse.
Grindhouse. Yeah, what's your
and
pick
Grindhouse? And Grindhouse, like I said, is like it's one of those ones that you can even go into breaking apart too, because there's roughies within that, and there's like because Grindhouse kind of was just like in an era, and then it kind of got into like a style, and so a lot of those films they still are made in some aspects, but they usually like a montage, and they like I think Love Witch because get into the Grindhouse feel because of it using its
like
70s.
Like homages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like some of those things. But
or like Hobo with a shotgun or something.
Yeah, because it's just over the top and just kind of be exploit, and it goes into exploitation a lot too. So really Grindhouse could be put into exploitation.
Yeah.
Which I might actually do, but we'll see.
Yeah. But we're going more into like the classic Grindhouse movies.
Yeah. But here's one that's was really infamous, but 4th Century. This one's pretty cool. It has the guy that's in Deep Throat, so it's interesting seeing him in kind of more of a violent role. But they did more recently is they did a recent take on it. So there's a new forced entry that just came out not so long ago, made by James Bett and KM Jameson. But
yeah, I never got into that. I never watched that one just because I was like, was like, is this just like someone made a fucking porn, but it's like rape scene porn? And so I was just like, that ain't for me.
Mhm.
But I don't know. Is it more of a horror movie than that, or is it like literally just long ass
Um,
rape scene?
it's, I mean, sinful dwarf type, but maybe
Yeah,
a little bit more sex.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, something in that realm.
Okay. My pick is going to be Nightmare in a Damaged Brain, 1981,
Yeah, it was
uh,
good.
by Romano Scavellini. It's about a guy that kind of escapes from a hospital type thing. I think he's like being experimented on or something, and he comes back to New York City where his wife and family are kind of trying to just live their lives, and he's long gone, but they he comes back and it's really gory, and Tom Savini's the effects genius behind it, but he's uncredited. It's a good one. It's sleazy and kind of low quality film, but it's I don't know why it's not talked about that much. So why do you think?
I don't know.
Because
I think it's just under the radar and it's older film. I mean, I don't know.
yeah, I mean its main title was just Nightmare, and that's just not a very good title for a movie. So and Nightmare
I
in
think
a
that's probably why. And then so
yeah
the other one is long, so it's either too long or too short,
yeah
like for a title.
yeah yeah. So anyway, yeah, I feel like I don't know. They go to like they move. I feel the family moves to to another city, and he follows them there, and yeah, it's creepy, really creepy killer guy. He's really demented, and I don't know. It's hard to talk about too much because I haven't seen it in a while, but it's good.
Mhm. And so getting into some splatter, I just interviewed the guy that did the special effects for this one, but Nocta, this one's great. Apparently got really popular in Japan. There's even a really cool Japanese release I want to pick up. Um, but yeah, this was crazy. There's so much blood and guts and gore. It's I definitely got a huge respect for Sebastian whenever I started interviewing him and digging into his work. He's definitely got some good quality, especially for being lower budget. It looks clean as all. Fucking Crow Nightmare is insane.
Yeah,
I wanted to pick that one, but I don't own it. I'm physically yet. I'm looking for a copy. But,
I want to check those out. They seem pretty brutal.
mhm.
My pick is going to be something that just came out. You can watch it on Shutter, but that's The Sadness, and that movie. Have you seen that yet?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just a splatter fest. It's really, really, really entertaining and funny and fucked up and all the best ways. It's really refreshing to see as like an outbreak / zombie movie too. That's not run of the mill. So, yeah,
Yeah, they break the mold a little bit in that one.
yeah, they really go for it. It reminds me more of like like a Cronenberg movie or something like Rabid,
Mhm. Mhm.
rather than like something like Train to Busan or something.
Mhm.
It's really cool to see
I
horror
agree.
out of Taiwan too, because I can't remember the last Taiwanese horror film I've seen.
Yeah, I can't think either. So
Yeah, what's your body horror pick?
body horror. I think I actually talked about this maybe the last one, but my Chan's Daily Life, the movie. But also just Sato Sadi Sato. Um, he's there's a lot of stuff that he's done, like the Blood Runner Zero, but that's actual body modification. So if you want to go into like body horror, that's it, because it's mostly her actually cutting herself. So it's actual scarification. But the My Chen's Daily Life is based on a manga, which I want to get into because I hear that the movie doesn't even touch on the brutality of the comic. So, but yeah, that one's good.
My pick is going to be another one that we screened, and that was Blood Pigs,
Hmm.
with Brian Pollin. Uh, that movie's just something. Is there where do people even watch that? Is there any way to even
No,
watch that?
he's going to be coming out with one soon. He's basically kind of going to remake it or something. I mean, there was an issue with
The frame rate.
the frame rate, so he just didn't mass put it out after that.
Yeah.
So, but I think he's going to try to resolve it and put it back out. Same with Reaper of Evil.
It's a really
But,
cool body horror 90s or maybe it was 2000s, but just low budget movie. Brian Paul movies are always good. I can't wait to
mhm.
see Septic. I still haven't seen it yet. Have you?
No, I haven't picked up the copy yet. I just didn't. I put too much money on some other stuff recently, so I unfortunately got pushed back. But I'm planning on picking up a copy.
Right on. Let's go into our next section, sexploitation. That was kind of hard to say.
Sexploitation section.
Yeah.
This one, well, I want to kind of just get into them in general because I feel like most of the time when you think of like sexploitation, you more think of like Emmanuel or or something like that. That's like a little bit like very sexually driven, but maybe not extreme horror. It's not going to be like your blood and guts, but a good person that I feel that exploits sex very well is Sleazebox. Um, so, I mean, you can really kind of touch on like any of their movies are going to be basically pretty much just as raunchy as the other in some aspects. Like they use a lot, heavily use of nudity and not being afraid of showing it. I don't think they do too much of like showing actual penetration, but they'll show like full like nudity of a girl eating out a girl, that that kind of stuff. But one of the ones that I got into. Oh, really quick, I missed that one, but he's going into the scumbags. Um, this one's really cool. They definitely use a lot of color filter. Like it was like have like a really heavy green light and it's like really heavy red light, and so it's if
Yeah, they use
heavy
a lot of
filters.
bright
If you're not
colors.
really into that, then that could be kind of like take you away from some things. But I think it's cool. It's more for the shitty, funny dialogue is really why you get into it. You get into it to more like crack a beer or smoke some weed and just kind of watch some sleazy, fun gore. It's kind of like the whole take on it.
Oh yeah. Mine's gonna be Nightmare Circus, but I think I like the much better AKA, which is Barn of the Naked Dead, which is a 1974 film by Alan Rudolph, if that is his real name. It's just about a guy who's collecting women in his barn, chaining them up and making them kind of do circus acts, but not really in his mind. Maybe it's circus acts, but it's just making them walk around in circles, basically. He has a couple in that live in the house that are like his slaves, kind of a little more close to him, and they're plotting like a way to get off out of the circus. It's really good. There's a monster living in a shed right outside. This is like in the middle of the desert, so they have like a really long ways to run till they can get to anything. And there's a monster that like lives in the shed right outside. So if they try to get out, the monster comes out and just eats them. So it's it's fucking crazy, dude. Barn of the Naked Dead.
Yeah, I'll have to check that one out. It's one of the ones I haven't seen yet.
It's worth owning. I've watched it. I've watched it quite a few times actually. It's good.
I guess getting into Nazi exploitation. This is one I recently got into. Um, but Fanticide. This movie's crazy. I need to revisit it though because it was just like so much. It was hard to take in everything. It's just that intense. There's just so much stuff. Um, Pretty crazy. Just Nazi cult leader team up with psychopath maniac to track down Mystelic relic. Oh, there's just so much stuff going on.
Never even heard of that one. Mine is Iron Sky. I couldn't really think of anything because it's like I talked about Ilsa last time, and I was trying to think of like other Nazi exploitation movies I've seen.
Well, Sado Master could have been another one I got into, but yeah.
Still never saw it though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Uh, but I did see Iron Sky that came out in 2012, and it's hilarious because it's like Nazis living on the moon. And
Mhm.
it's kind of almost the Sharknado style with like the really bad CGI, but it's like elevated a little bit higher. Where
Like
like
Dead Snow type thing.
yeah, it's something a little more along the lines of Dead Snow, but it's really funny. But I kind of wanted to more go into it on the show to bring up the sequel, which I haven't seen yet because I didn't even know it came out. But did you ever see the sequel to Iron Sky that came out in 2019, where there's like dinosaurs and shit?
I heard about it, but no, I didn't
Uh,
end up watching it.
yeah, I didn't end up watching it either, but that shit looks crazy. I gotta watch that. But yeah, that's gonna be my Nazi exploitation. Sorry, it wasn't something more on the like the cult side or anything, but I thought Iron Sky was pretty entertaining.
Yeah, no, Iron Sky is interesting for sure. I actually had a hard time with drug exploitation. I mean, there's a lot of drug use and fucking every like films all throughout, but it's
Hmm.
hard to find one that's just like dedicated in extreme horror for drugs besides like Black Metal Vein, um, and stuff like that. But there's, Red Crocodile, um, which is just kind of like this guy just completely getting eaten away by this drug.
I haven't seen that
And
yet. Is it good? I've heard it's not
it's
good.
it's okay. I mean, it can drag a lot, because it's just, it's just him basically doing too much crocodile and then get eaten, basically getting eaten alive kind of thing
Hmm.
by the drug. But
Yeah, my pick is going to be VFW, which was something that came out in 2019. It's kind of a siege movie, sort similar to Assault in Precinct 13, the John Carpenter film, where there's about 5 or 6 Vietnam vets that are hauled up in this VFW hall, like in the bar, having a couple of drinks for one of their birthday. And across the street, there's this movie theater that's like a closed down movie theater full of these druggies that are hopped up on some sort of like colorful drug that's like, I don't know. But anyway, basically somebody steals a bunch of that drug and takes it across the street to the VFW hall, and everyone from that movie theater comes over and they're trying to get into this bar and get the drugs from everybody. It's pretty fucking crazy.
I guess Bliss would be another one. I completely forgot about that I saw. But that's like, I mean, it's not mainstream. It's just Shutter exclusive one, but I thought it was crazy as all. But just basically this artist that she's losing her head because into taking this drug that makes her obsessed with drinking blood and turns into a vampire essentially, and then she's just like is dedicated to this drug or finishing her piece, but the piece is like eating her. I don't know. It's like it's weird.
Yeah, I still need to see that.
That's really cool. I think it's visually, it's crazy. They did a good job with the editing.
My next one oh wait, no, do you want to go next?
Yeah. So based on a true story, um, but this is there's the secret in my soup. Um, it's kind of in the realm of something like Untold Story, but definitely gets more into not as much of the store and him cooking up people, but there's definitely some similarities. But I don't want to get too much into the spoiling it. But that one's really crazy. So Hong Kong.
Category 3.
Mine is Amin, Rise and Fall from 1981, which is about Idi Amin, the Ugandan dictator. And it's kind of about his, like, when he starts ruling and then all the way to when he gets overthrown. And there's a lot of gore and dismemberment and cannibalism and just fucked up shit the whole time. It kind of feels like a Mondo film because it's almost like it's it's not autobiographical. It's just like documentary style, almost like a docudrama exploitation kind of thing.
Mhm.
And sorry, my baby's like trying to climb over the wall that I made, so he couldn't get to me. Um, but yeah, it's really gory. I don't know why it's not talked about that much because it is a Grindhouse film um, from 1981. Just not talked about that. It's kind of like Caligula, where it's based on like a true story, but it's not very accurate because it's just
Mhm.
more about the more exploitive stuff, or Men Behind the Sun, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially some of the later ones.
yeah. All right, you want to go into Pinku?
Yeah. This is one that I kind of got more into recently. But I mean, there's so many good Pinkus. But the Shock DVD stuff I've been kind of getting into, but Rope and Beasts, this film is just absolutely beautiful. I wish I could show more, but it's a lot of tie up but just the way yeah, it's really cool lighting. But a lot of Pinkus, I mean, the stories are not necessarily as important in it. I mean, they're almost like soft BDSM movies, but just you feel a little less sleazy when you're, I guess, watching them because they're
Just
kind
like
of like you could say you're watching
tasteful.
them for artistic
Yeah,
vision reasons. I don't know,
yeah,
but
they're a little more tasteful, I guess.
mm,
Mine isn't so tasteful though. Mine's High School Ghost Hustlers, which is a Ghostbusters parody from 1995 by Yoshinari Nishikori. It's pretty fucking funny because all the ghosts are like these weird claymation looking demons that are just horny and flying around the school like chasing schoolgirls and shit, and really funny special effects and CGI. It's not that good, but if you can track it down, it's worth watching.
mm. Yeah, and like I said, like Pinku is kind of hard to like. There's definitely some Pinku that is extreme, but then it would be go more maybe into another category then. But
Yeah, it would go more into like a category we're probably going to bring up soon,
mhm.
or maybe the next three categories. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
let,
like yeah, like exactly.
let's
Women in captivity, all that stuff. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, what's your pick for women in captivity?
One that I was happy to get my hands on, but Flesh to Play. I mean, it's not really like a full, women in captivity where a lot of people think of like, they're in jail, but it's just basically this guy that has them in cages and then just takes them out and fucks with them and then basically just slowly tortures them to death. Um,
Sounds like
but
Barn of the Naked Dead kind of.
mhm. It's crazy. But yeah, there's some people that are like trying to sell it for like $400 to $500 a copy. I mean, there's only like I think 333 each, but there's three different covers for each. So technically, it's like 1,000 if you just don't want to be picky about the cover. But yeah, but they are in U.S. Sub Rosa. If this is live and it's still there, there's copies, or just buy it from Germany. Find a friend from Germany, and you can get it there.
Mine is one that we've already talked about before on I forgot what episode it was, but Bloodsucking Freaks, 1976, directed by
Mm-hmm.
Joel M. Reed, put out by Troma. That's the women in captivity part of the film is it's shown, but it's more about the human trafficking of people. But it's also about this torture show that is it real? Is it not? It's real. So, but the ones that don't get killed get sent off for money and stuff. But that's yeah, I love Bloodsucking Freaks. It's a very sleazy. So somehow it's a comedy, but it's still just really fucked up black
Mm-hmm.
comedy. Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Now we're getting into the snuff or pseudo snuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Oh, well, this is one I recently got to, and I wish I actually got into it sooner because this would have fell into the music category. We could have talked into the snuff episode. Um, but the psychic TV, the first transmission stuff, this is actually has like four different things on it too. Because there was different things that they made. But there's some of the footage you definitely question what the hell you're watching because it's kind of like they're doing ritualistic um things, but then there's definitely some real cuttings and real things, and so you don't. But then but the way that it's shot, it makes you believe, and like you don't know what you're watching, or whether it's fake or real, or so it's hard to figure out
Hmm.
whether you really are watching a real snuff film or not. It's it's pretty crazy.
Crazy. Never heard of it. That's weird that we didn't come across it on our snuff episode.
Yeah, Marcus Cook brought it up,
Oh.
and then I researched it from there, and I was like, holy shit, it's good
Mine
stuff.
isn't really pseudo snuff. Mine is more of a like a just a movie, Spanish movie called Tesis, which is actually Thesis from 1996. It's just about a student trying to do a project on snuff films, and she comes across a real one. And upon tracking it down, she realizes that like some of the students could be part of it. It's a pretty cool thriller. It's nothing too extreme, but it's just really well shot, and it's a good looking movie. So I feel like it would. I feel like anyone that watches our show would like movies like Tessis or even 8mm with Nicolas Cage. Anything that
Yeah,
has like snuff
maybe
as
not
the
the second
topic.
one.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna go into rape. This is one I recently saw as a rape revenge. Um, it's already dead. Yeah, but I mean, it's just basically like the same kind of situation where woman gets brutally raped, and then she goes on a killing spree and kills all the people that basically did her wrong. But the brutality in this was insane. It puts a lot of like the I spit in your grave to shame in some of it, and it's still kind of being like has a good like artistic feel.
My pick would be The Bad Man 2018 by Scott Shermer. I thought it was a really interesting take on the rape revenge movie because it showed more of the breakdown of people's psyche, like the slow process of breaking them down, and how hard it is to come back from that. And uh, these people basically get a home invasion where they're kidnapped and taken into this sex trade, but their bodies are transformed. It would almost fit in body horror too, but because their
Mm-hmm.
bodies are like modified to become like sex dolls, and yeah, doesn't it doesn't end well for them, and like the ending is really fucked up and sad. You don't get like a happy ending, but you get a resolution, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the thing about rape revenge is you always want a good revenge. That with that movie, even though I would say they do get their revenge in a way, there's some things that you just can't ever get back.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. So let's do our last section, disturbing drama. What do you got for that?
I went with I know we've been bringing up Marcus Cook a lot, but Fell is one of those movies that he did um, that not many people really talk about or even really know about. Um,
Yeah, I want to see that. I saw the trailer
yeah,
when I was editing his episode. Looks good.
yeah, and he uses the same guy he used in Rot, but it's just mostly just him just slowly losing his mind. I mean, it's a pretty simple premise, but the way that it's shot and the feel of everything and the space or the pacing, I really enjoyed. Um, yeah, I think him when he was talking about he possibly wants to remake it and maybe do something different with it. I really be interested to seeing, especially it being one of his earlier films.
The disturbing drama that I picked is Brawl in Cell Block 99 from 2017. It's directed by Craig Zoller. It stars Vince Vaughn, which is crazy
Hmm.
seeing Vince Vaughn in something that's so gory and fucked up. But this movie is fucked up on every single level. It's about a man who has his wife kidnapped by a gang. I think he owes them money or something. And she's pregnant, and they're telling him that they are going to have the abortionist go in and trim the arms and legs off of the baby before if he doesn't do what they say. And what he's tasked to do is he needs to get to the highest security part of the prison. So he basically gets arrested, and he gets in a fight, which puts him in a higher security. Each time he gets in a higher security, he gets in a fight. And he is fucking people up beyond belief. He's killing people, and yeah, it's almost like Story of Ricky, but in America. Yeah, but it's not really funny. It's dark, but
Yeah.
I think it's the director of Bone Tomahawk or something. It's good, but yeah.
So that's basically the stream mode of horror. I might, like I said, revisit it if I do think. I was actually thinking about trying to combine the extreme web of horror and the normal web of horror, because there are some that definitely overlap.
Yeah.
Like home invasion is definitely something that you could put in extreme horror, and also be, and that's one that wasn't mentioned in extreme horror. And so those are like ones that definitely feel like sci-fi and cyberpunk can be put into different ones. And
Maybe we should do the web of horror again, like the OG web of horror, but we'll pick extreme movies for it. So like we could pick extreme zombie movies, extreme vampire movies. We'd have to do some searching, but I'm sure we could find it.
100% we could.
Extreme alien movies and stuff.
Because like I said, like just classifying as extreme, like there's extreme versions of every subgenre, like and so that's why it's a tough project. So to basically say every subgenre and put it where it belongs, because everything's so mixed as well. It has elements of different things. A lot of films are 5 subgenres just within themselves.
I think we gave a pretty good selection for our viewers. I think your stuff's a little more on like perverted side. My stuff's a little bit more on the campy side, but there was a lot of stuff in between. So
no, for sure.
Yeah, sweet. Well, that'll be the very first episode for us for season 3. I think it was a good way to kick it off. Stay tuned to our social medias, because we got some crazy shit coming up, including a screening on the 21st with Vivian K. Quintero. We're doing her new movie. I'm going to try to pronounce it right, but it's L'Electricité, something like that.
Something like that.
It's French, so pardon my French. And so, yeah, we're doing that Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific time on our Discord. So make sure you come to that. It's going to be one of those Q&A events. So it'll be a party. Bring the popcorn. There's probably going to be some nasty shit in the movie. So you might want to make sure you're 18 and up. I don't know if we're doing verification for this one or not.
Well, the Discord in itself is
trying
to be 18 and up, or ultimately.
So if you join our Discord, verify with the mods. We do have some other shit coming up too. We're gonna do a screening with Marcus Cook, showing the MK Ultra mixtapes. I don't know how many we're gonna do.
I think we're just gonna start with premiering the 4th one. So we're gonna be actually premiering his new one and showing it first, which is cool. And then we might do one before, but it depends on when that comes out. So all depends on Marcus.
That's right. And we still only have one patron. Last time I checked.
2.
Oh, we got a new one? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We got 2.
Yeah, 2.
So that's 2 people going to be on our first game show. We're throwing that together. That's going to be released soon. Is that going to be a patron? No, I don't think we're doing patron only to watch it, but to be on.
No, just to be on the show. If you want to be part of the show, you have to be a patron, because basically you're going to be able to win prizes.
Yeah.
So we want you. So basically, it's like you got to pay a little to get a little back, But it's like kind of attitude. But we're maybe giving out, DVDs or stickers or whatever to basically make it, or privileges and things like that. So
yeah. So the Patreon is going to be something that's going to be worth joining for a lot of reasons, but especially since you can basically be on the show. So we're going to have game shows. We had some other ideas too. I forgot what they are. Panels.
Some panel shows, yeah.
Panels, yeah. So if you want to be on a panel, talk horror movies with us, join the Patreon. We'll talk. We'll figure out a way to get you involved. Of course, we are new to the Patreon. As soon as we get the numbers and there's going to be too many people to pick, we're going to have to like draw numbers and shit. But right now, it's pretty much open, fair game for everybody.
Hmm. And like I said, we might do one pretty soon, even with just the two Patreons, because I just might just bring a guest on and have them as just kind of like, well, you're a legend, so if you win, you win.
Mm-hmm.
You're a legend. So something like Ramon 420 or Mr. Ramon 420 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Or David Parker
All
or
the content creators we've been watching for so many
yeah,
years.
yeah.
Yeah, Dave Parker would be great. Everybody keep an eye out for my other channel. I just started. It's Horror Corridor channel. I'm going to start uploading my shows to that instead of on the QVC channel because it was just starting to flood. It wasn't even anymore. So Parents Under the Stairs, that'll still be on Quality Violence Cinema. Horror Corridor, I'm going to have some clips on the Quality Violence Cinema page. Anything that's related to movies, because I always talk movies with my guests. But if you want to watch the full episodes, please do me a huge favor. Go over to the Horror Corridor YouTube. The link will be in the description. Subscribe. If you don't want to watch it, please go over and subscribe because I need to reach 100 subscribers in order to get my custom URL. So it helps a lot out if you can subscribe to my new channel.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good night or morning or whatever the fuck time it is. Peace.